From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring
This is Atlantic Television Network. Welcome to Global News. First, the court dismisses Labour Party's suit against Rivers Assembly. Benue State Government declares 3-day holiday for Easter celebration. Tinubu declares national emergency on food security. FG insists on ending 200 billion naira solar panel imports. EU, Britain increases aid for displaced persons in Sudan. Flying Eagles to depart to Cairo for final preparations.
from the line across the ocean to the land beyond.
Federal High Court sitting in Port Harcourt has dismissed the suit filed by the Labour Party in Rivers State challenging the alleged defection of the suspended Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, Martin Amehule, and 26 others. Delivering judgment on Tuesday, Justice Emmanuel Obile cited the recent Supreme Court's decision, which he said had already addressed the issue of defection raised in the suit, adding that he lacks the jurisdiction to adjudicate on a matter that had been conclusively determined by the Apex Court. Counsel to the defendant, Ken Njemanze, senior advocate of Nigeria, had in his final written address urged the court to dismiss the suit in light of the Supreme Court's ruling, which upheld the legitimacy of the lawmakers. However, counsel to the Labour Party, Clifford Chukwu, argued that the issue of defection was a collateral matter in the case decided by the Supreme Court and urged the court not to dismiss the suit. Rivers State Judiciary has faulted the reasons given by retired Chief Magistrate Ejike King George for his exit from the judiciary. George, in a letter widely circulated on social media, claimed that his voluntary retirement was largely due to discomfort with the recent appointment of what he described as a quasi-military administration to govern Rivers State. However, the Chief Registrar of the Rivers State High Court, David Madwe, in a statement in Port Harcourt on Tuesday, clarified that George was compulsorily retired from service with effect from February 10, 2025 for disciplinary reasons. According to Madwe, the action followed complaints of prolonged absence from duty without official leave, spanning from August 25, 2023 to December 2024. Madwe further explained that the retired Chief Magistrate appeared before the disciplinary panel of the Judicial Service Commission following the complaint, and the panel found him culpable and recommended either voluntary retirement or compulsory retirement, and the recommendation was subsequently submitted to the JSC, which approved his compulsory retirement. Chief Registrar Madwe said George's attempt to link his removal from office to the prevailing political situation in the state is not only a contrived falsehood, but also a mischievous act aimed at deceiving the public and attracting undue sympathy and unmerited support. Edo State Governor Dennis Idahosa says the Governor Monday Okpebolo-led administration will develop the rural areas to engender sustainable growth in the state. A statement signed by Idahosa's Chief Press Secretary, Friday Agedo, the Deputy Governor said this when he played host to the Association of Local Government Secretaries, Edo State Chapter in Benin. Idahosa said the present administration would keep faith with its campaign promises and speed up development across the 18 council areas of the state, and solicited the commitment and dedication of the secretaries to their respective council bosses as they strive to achieve the mantra of the governor across the 18 local governments. Spokesman of the secretaries, Pastor Eromosele Oigboichie, said that the governor's victory at the tribunal had spurred them to rededicate their loyalty to the party and service to the people at the grassroots, and commended the performance of the present administration while citing the construction of a flyover bridge to decongest traffic gridlock at Ramat Park, which is the first of its kind since the creation of the state, as a major plus for the administration. Oigboichie pledged their support and loyalty to the administration of Senator Monday Okpebholo to enable it record meaningful progress in transforming the state to an enviable height. Federal government has officially aimed at linking the South-South and Southeast regions towards enhancing connectivity and economic potential. President Bola Tinubu, represented by Cross River State Governor Abasi Otu in Calabar, described the highway as a transformative initiative poised to serve as an economic enabler, job creation driver, and a platform for cultural integration across Nigeria's coastal belt. He said the highway reaffirms Cross River State's role as a key hub for agriculture and multimodal transport, as well as spanning land, air, and sea, and also called on the people of the Cross Rivers to seize the economic opportunities and the highway presence, particularly in the nano, small, and medium enterprise space, pledging that the state would ensure an enabling environment for entrepreneurship to flourish. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, reiterated the federal government's commitment to completing the project within a few years, adding that it is an alignment with President Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, as well as a transformative investment for economic growth and sustainable development, and will function as a strategic evacuation corridor to reduce congestion and bolster the country's infrastructure network. Also speaking at the event, the Federal Controller of Works in Cross River State, Olayinka Onafuye, commended President Tinubu for initiating the highway and promised strict supervision to ensure adherence to standards and specifications throughout the project's implementation. Indigents of Ihe Ndume community stormed the Abia State House of Assembly to demand a drastic slash in school fees at Government College Umuahia. The protesters, who arrived at the assembly before the plenary session began, cried out that they cannot afford the outrageous school fees set by the management of Government College Umuahia. Led by Nathaniel Woko, the president of Abia State Chapter of Common Man Assembly, the aggrieved indigents alleged that the present administrators of the school have converted the public school to a private institution, thereby denying intelligent children from poor homes the opportunity to access quality education. The community members demanded that school fees be slashed to enable the children of the poor enroll, and also begged Governor Alex Oti to ensure that Abia State government becomes part of the management team. They also called for Government College Umuahia to remain a public school where intelligent children can attend, irrespective of their parents' social status. Addressing the protesters, the chairman of Abia State House of Assembly Committee on Education, Okoro Uche Nakalu, said the matter is receiving the needed attention and Governor Alex Oti is interested in the issue and promised that the House will recommend the right direction to go on the matter. Deputy Speaker Augustine Okezie, who represents the Umuahia East constituency, where the protesters came from, urged his constituents to refrain from taking the law into their hands, as the House would ensure that the right thing is done. Enugu State Police Command has refuted reports alleging a reign of terror and the killing of 25 persons by insurgents in the state, describing the claims as entirely false, sensational, and mischievous. According to the command, the report is a calculated attempt to misinform the public and undermine the efforts of security agencies in maintaining peace and security in Enugu State, adding that about 25 people were killed in recent days, with many others injured in the agrarian communities of Uzo, Onwani local government area of Enugu State, following a brutal wave of violence allegedly carried out by suspected Fulani herdsmen. The command, however, in a statement on Tuesday by its spokesperson, SP Daniel Ndukwe, asserted that the report contains fabricated names and incidents that never occurred in Enugu State, adding that the State Commissioner of Police, CP Maman Bitrus Jiwa, strongly condemned the dissemination of such inaccurate and baseless reports designed to mislead and cause unnecessary panic. Attempted stealing of electrical cables from a critical power facility in one of Lagos State housing estates has ended a suspect in fiery tragedy. The suspected thief was electrocuted in the act in the early hours of Monday morning at the Latif Kayode Jakande Gardens in Igandu, where two intruders identified as Sadiq Danjima and his accomplice known simply as Yahoo breached the estate by scaling the fence along the Lasu Iba Expressway around 2 a.m. The suspects targeted underground power cables and began cutting through the high voltage lines, but the heist took a deadly turn when Danjuma entered the injection substation within the estate. He was met with a devastating electrical shock that left his body scorched and riddled with burns, while his partner in crime fled the scene immediately and vanished into the night. Danjuma pleaded with security operatives comprising officers of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps and the mountain troops, promising to confess everything if only he could be given medical help. Between cries of pain, he revealed the entire operation had been orchestrated by a cable theft syndicate. The estate chairman, Olajide Andu, criticized the agency for failing to swiftly hand over the injured suspect, insisting that authorities seemed more concerned with his treatment than with immediate justice. Independent National Electoral Commission in Osun State has reiterated its commitment to deploying technological innovations to ensure the conduct of credible elections in the state across Nigeria. The declaration was made by the Resident Electoral Commissioner, Dr. Mutiu Olaleke Agbuke, during a quarterly consultative meeting held on Tuesday, April 15, 2025, addressing a gathering of political party leaders, civil society organizations, media practitioners, and other stakeholders. Dr. Agbuke stressed the importance of embracing technology as a means of upholding electoral integrity in the country, adding that INEC had made significant progress through the deployment of technology to tackle long-standing electoral challenges. The INEC REC said the cornerstone of democracy is to conduct a free, fair, inclusive and transparent elections that requires not only unambiguous legal frameworks, clear-cut understanding of the electoral processes and procedures by the public and political will, but also strong institutions and effective use of technology. He urged political parties to maintain peaceful conduct and internal democracy, adding that civil society organizations should continue to advocate and observe electoral processes, while the media must adhere to professionalism and factual reporting. INEC assured it will remain transparent and accountable in its operations and reaffirmed INEC's commitment to improving the electoral process while calling on political parties to expose electoral fraudsters and perpetrators of electoral violence and also charged the electoral stakeholders to expose all criminalities. The chairman, Inter-Party Advisory Council IPAC in the state, Pastor Victor Akande, appreciated INEC for being transparent and encouraged stakeholders to play the game according to the rule. Community in the Magboro area of Ogun State have raised the alarm over the increasing spate of burglary and suspected human trafficking in the area. According to residents, the burglaries appear to originate from within the community rather than from external intruders, adding that they have identified a particular house where the suspected criminals reside, but feel helpless because the building is allegedly owned by a senior officer of a security agency. Members of the Community Development Association also described the presence of unfamiliar individuals in the area as troubling, while Mr. Mose Mutuwang, a resident and CDA executive, said the issue had escalated significantly between December and February, prompting the community to involve the Warewa police station along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. He described the building as an unregistered hotel and security risk to the community, while CDA chairman Mr. Bolade Awopetu echoed the community's concerns and urged the government to intervene. When contacted, the spokesperson for the Ogun State Police Command, Omolola Odutola, advised the residents to formally petition the Commissioner of Police for appropriate action. Benue State Governor Reverend Friday Hyacinth has declared Thursday, Friday, and Monday as work-free days across the state to celebrate the Easter season. The announcement, made in a public statement from the Government House in Makurdi, is aimed at allowing civil servants and residents of the state to fully partake in the Easter Triduum, a period of deep spiritual reflection and celebration for the Christian community. Governor Aliyah, a Catholic priest turned politician, acknowledged the importance of the Easter period in the lives of Christians, describing it as a time of renewal, sacrifice, and hope, adding that the decision to declare the holidays reflects the state government's respect for religious values and its desire to promote the spiritual well-being of its citizens. The governor extended heartfelt Easter wishes to all Christians in Benue State and beyond, praying that the celebrations bring peace, joy, and a renewed commitment to faith, unity, and community service. Governor Aliyah encouraged citizens to remain steadfast in their faith and to emerge from the Easter season with renewed energy for building a greater Benue. Violent rainstorm has again wreaked havoc in some communities in Kogi State, destroying properties and displacing families from their ancestral homes. The latest disaster in Kogi State happened in Mopa and Amuru districts, both in Mopa-Amuru local government area of the state. This is coming after, on the 11th day of April 2025, the communities of Odole, Iletuju, Ayetuju, Agbajogun, Efo Amuru, Ayede, and Takete, spanning across Mopa and Amuru districts of Mopa-Amuru local government area, I beg your pardon, were struck by a ruinous rainstorm. Confirming the incident in a motion of urgent public importance before the Kogi State House of Assembly on Tuesday, the member representing Mopa-Amuru State constituency, Honorable Jacob Sam Olaomi, said the calamity in the form of heavy rainfall was accompanied by violent storms that destroyed valuable properties. After careful deliberation among the various lawmakers present at the sitting, the House resolved that the Kogi State Emergency Management Agency be urgently called upon to carry out a comprehensive assessment of the damage caused by the storm in the affected communities, as well as determine the full extent of devastation and ensure the deployment of relief materials to cushion the impact on the victims, and to extend outcome of its assessment to the National Emergency Management Agency for federal level intervention and support. The 8th Assembly in the state also urged the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, National Social Investment Program, and the Kogi State Social Investment Program to provide relief materials, extend social support and other humanitarian assistance to the affected families and communities. It also mandated the House Standing Committee on Environment to visit the affected communities for an independent assessment and to report back with its observations and recommendations for any further legislative or executive action deemed necessary. FCT Minister Barrister Nyesom Wike has stressed on the key reforms in land administration in the FCT with effective from April 21, 2025, encompassing critical aspects of conditions for land granting, statutory rights of occupancy, the content of titles and letters of acceptance, titling of mass housing, and regularization of land documents issued by area councils. The minister disclosed this in Abuja after carrying out inspections on Apo to Wasa Road construction, Kubwa Express Interchange Bridge, and Mabushi Bus Terminal construction, adding that deadline of 21 days has been introduced for land allottees to make full payments of all prescribed bills, fees, rents, and charges for statutory rights of occupancy, necessarily in order to raise revenue.
If you want to ask the question, you ask question, please take exception to that. We're trying to, if you can, people who are trying to stop land speculators. Somebody who says they want land in Abuja cannot develop in 2 years' time. That's land speculation. And two, if you have been given allocation, you should be able to pay within 21 days to have your share. For what is wrong in that? That also is to generate fund for the government. So many people will have RFO and keep it for 4 years and looking for who will buy the land before. So we don't want to allow that. So I don't want to be, anybody can say whatever they want to say. We are trying to stop this issue of land speculation. Why would you not develop a land, give it to you in 2 years' time? I mean, it's not proper. Why would you not pay a fee within 21 days? What's wrong in that? There's nothing wrong. You cannot apply for land and then you don't have money to pay for the SCFO. It doesn't make sense. 21 days is enough. If you want to ask a question, you ask a question. Please take exception to that.
On the project inspected, he expressed satisfaction with hope that all will be ready for commissioning by May this year.
Well, the one from Apoto was, you can see that CJC is doing a very good job. By the grace of God, that was ready. The one to Kubwa, that's the interchange, which is the kind of by Gilmore. They have also assured us that that was ready. But the one we have doubt, the one that has to join Jadi and Utako. But they still believe that in the second week of June, they would have rounded it up. So let's believe in what they have said, and then we're down the bus terminal, which is almost ready. But I've told the Secretary of Transport a lot of work has to be done. I will not accept the finishing. Finishing is key. Finishing is key. And the contractor must come back here to do what he's supposed to do so that we'll invite the president to come and inaugurate the Mabushi bus terminal. You know, we also had one in Kubo. I've not been there, but we believe that that will also be ready. But by and large, I think we're on schedule. You don't need to have a law, it's a regulation. The minister has power to have land administration reform.
Katsina State Governor Diko Rather has warned newly elected local government chairmen against corruption, inefficiency and negligence, stating that his administration would not tolerate any misconduct. Speaking during the swearing-in ceremony of the 34 local government chairmen in Katsina, Rather said corruption, inefficiency and negligence will not be tolerated under his watch, adding that local governments are the closest link to the people and the expectation from citizens is high, and reaffirmed his commitment to implementing full autonomy for local governments in Katsina State. He said the state government has created a new department under the Ministry for Local Government to be headed by the Special Advisor on Inspectorate Matters, aimed at enhancing performance and protecting resources and ensure collective progress in rural infrastructure to education, healthcare, agriculture, as well as water and sanitation and security of lives and property. He also challenged the elected officials to prioritize education and youth empowerment through strategic collaboration. United Nations Children's Fund is seeking the support of the traditional rulers in Bauchi State in the campaign against polio and other deadly childhood diseases. Speaking during a courtesy visit to the Emir of Das, Usman Bil Yaminu, the UNICEF chief of Bauchi Field Office, Nuzat Rafiq, said the role the traditional institutions would play includes ensuring that people embrace the vaccine, while appreciating the Emir of Das for his commitment and concern for the children in the state and Nigeria at large. The UNICEF boss urged him to lead other traditional community leaders and district heads across the states to ensure that all children were reached and immunized. Rafiq said every child must have a polio drop this time around, insisting that no child should be left behind, even in the most deprived areas, stressing that it would be only would be only possible if all the traditional leaders, community and religious leaders in the state work closely with UNICEF. Responding, the Emir of Das, who is also the chairman Bauchi State Emirate Council's Committee on Health, said the traditional institution in the state had started a renewed strategy in terms of sensitization on polio, and the traditional rulers agreed to pay visits to health facilities to ascertain the progress of the immunization exercise, and had also made it a duty for every district head to visit a health facility within his domain constantly. Northern Youth Council of Nigeria has condemned the recent wave of violence in Plateau State, calling on the federal government to take immediate and decisive action to halt the crisis. A statement issued on Tuesday in Kaduna, the council expressed deep alarm and distress over the tragic pattern of bloodshed that has devastated communities and robbed families of loved ones in Plateau State, and it also called on the federal government to take immediate and decisive action to halt this crisis. The statement advised that it is imperative for the authorities to prioritize the safety of citizens by not only condemning the heinous act, but also by ensuring that the perpetrators are swiftly brought to justice. National President of the Northern Youth Council of Nigeria, Isa Abubakar, said the council's demand for action comes on the heels of President Bola Tinubu's condemnation of the latest attacks in Plateau State, which claimed the lives of over 40 citizens, and urged Governor Caleb Mutfwang to summon the necessary political will to resolve the crisis and establish enduring peace. Meanwhile, the Christian Association of Nigeria has described the recent killings as threats to national unity and peace. CAN President Daniel Oko called on security agencies to act swiftly and decisively in bringing the perpetrators to justice, while urging the government to intensify efforts to secure all communities and prevent further bloodshed, while stressing the need for unity and solidarity among Northern youths to advocate for peace and demand accountability from those in power. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun has paid a condolence visit to Plateau State following the deadly attacks in the Basa local government area of the state that claimed the lives of dozens of residents. According to a statement released in Abuja on Tuesday by the Force Public Relations Officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi, the IGP was accompanied by top-ranking officers, including the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of the Police Mobile Force, AIG Funsho Adegboye, AIG Zone 4, AIG Zachariah Ferrer, and the Commandant of the Police Staff College Jos, AIG Nwoyi Polycarp Emeka. During his visit, Egbetokun met with Governor Caleb Mutfwang at the government house in Jos, where he expressed his condolences and condemned the violent attacks in a bid to strengthen security coordination in the region, and also met with tactical commanders to assess and reinforce ongoing security operations. The IGP also seized the opportunity to hold a brief meeting with tactical commanders to review strategies employed in the deployment of police operational personnel and operational assets provided to further augment the available security emplacements in the state to ensure sustained peace efforts. The Inspector General of Police has further directed the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Department of Operations, DIG Kwazi Dali Yakubu, to take charge and oversee the operations aimed at restoring peace and serenity to Plateau State, and reiterated the force's commitment to justice and peace. The statement concluded and reaffirmed its commitment to the good people of Plateau State and Nigeria as a whole. Former Vice President and presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 elections, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, has expressed sorrow and outrage over the recent wave of killings in Plateau and Borno states, describing the incident as a reflection of the worsening security situation under President Bola Tinubu's administration. In a strongly worded statement issued on his official X account on Tuesday, Atiku condemned the latest attack in the Zaik community in the Kimakpa area of Kwale District, Basa local government area, Plateau State, where at least 47 persons were killed. The incident, which occurred on Sunday, comes on the heels of another deadly attack in Bokos local government area, while the former Vice President laid blame for the incident on the federal government, accusing Tinubu of failing to uphold the primary responsibility of protecting lives and property. He also raised the alarm over continued terrorist attacks in Borno State, stressing the increasing loss of life and territorial control to insurgents and concerns raised by Governor Babagana Zulum and the Shehu of Borno, Abubakar IBN Umar Gabai El Kanemi, as further evidence of a deteriorating security situation, disturbing developments which underscore the total collapse of the current administration's security, police and architecture. According to Atiku, the failure to prosecute known terrorists has emboldened their activities across the country and urged swift and decisive judicial action to hold perpetrators accountable, while calling on the Attorney General of the Federation to prioritize terrorism-related prosecutions and recommend the establishment of special courts to expedite justice. Atiku also called for legislative action to enable states to better secure their territories by arming and equipping local security outfits. Suspected armed bandits stormed Tonga Dada community in the Moriki district of Zumi local government area of Zamfara state, killing one resident and abducting over 50 local people. Eyewitnesses said the operation occurred at around 3:30 a.m., with the bandits shooting sporadically at unsuspecting villages before heading dozens away to an unknown location. The State Police Command spokesman, DSP Yazid Abubakar, has not made any statement relating to the abduction. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after this break.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all your bits on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. On 18.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human
on the point of order.
Honorable
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
Welcome back. This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of our stories. President Bola Tinubu has declared a national emergency on food security while calling for expanded irrigation infrastructure and participatory water resource management nationwide. Tinubu made the declaration while opening the 6th African Regional Conference on Irrigation and Drainage in Abuja, and represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akumi. He urged the African nations to adopt innovative strategies in addressing the continent's irrigation and water management challenges. Tinubu said the country had more than 3.1 million hectares of irrigable land located around key river basins such as the Niger and Benue. In his remarks, the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Utsef, said the government had completed several landmark initiatives under the Transforming Irrigation Management in Nigeria project and its successor. The Sustainable Power and Irrigation for Nigeria project would address outstanding gaps while optimizing the economic value of water resources to support food security. According to the minister, the trimming project, which spanned more than 7 years, delivered notable achievements, including the completion of the Dandim Kowa and Bakolori irrigation schemes and 90% completion of the Middle Rima Valley irrigation project, and also supported ongoing interventions in Ondo, Kwara, Benue, Kebbi, Edo, Adamawa, and Oyo states. He also said the projects established water users associations, farmer management centers, and supported market linkages for key value chains such as rice and tomato, adding that river basin development authorities had developed more than 153,000 hectares of irrigable land and were being partially commercialized to attract private sector investment. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has inaugurated an ad hoc committee to legislate in place of the suspended River State House of Assembly. The event was held at the National Assembly Complex, Abuja, and was attended by members designates drawn from the 6 geopolitical zones. And while addressing the 21-man committee, Speaker Abbas reminded the panel that its mandate is non-partisan, but a call to legislate and ensure good governance, peace and prosperity of the oil-rich state. Present at the event are the House Leader who doubles as the Chairman of the committee, Professor Julius Ihonvere, Ali Isa, PDP Gombe, who is the Deputy Chairman, including Idris Wase, North Central, Aliyu Mokhtar, North East, Sada Soli, North West, Iduma Igariwe, South East, and Chehu Rijau. Others include Wole Oke, Akara Hiyamadi, Patrick Umo, and Isa Anka, among others, while representatives of the Southwest, James Faleke, was unavoidably absent. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has ordered the Rivers State Sole Administrator, Vice Admiral Ibok Etse Ibas, retired, that by the provision of the 1999 Constitution as amended, he must report to the National Assembly in running the affairs of the oil-rich states. The Speaker gave the charge in Abuja on Tuesday while inaugurating the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on River State to perform the legislative functions of the House of Assembly. This is coming after, on 18th March 2025, President Bola Tinubu declared a 6-month emergency rule in Rivers State following the political crisis that pitched the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara, again, the State House of Assembly. Tinubu suspended both parties for an initial period of 6 months and appointed Ibas to oversee the running of the state as sole administrator, a decision that was approved and ratified by both chambers of the Federal Parliament. Inaugurating the 21-man committee on Tuesday, Speaker Abbas urged members to be guided by objectivity, warning that no room exists for bias and partisanship, adding that the current administration in Rivers State is inherently temporary in view of the suspension of the state governor, Mr. Siminalayi Fubara, and the entire House of Assembly. A caretaker administration has been installed under the stewardship of Rear Admiral Ibok Ete Ekwe Ibas. According to him, the role of the sole administrator is strictly circumscribed as he is charged with maintaining law and order and ensuring that the basic functions of governance are met only until full democratic governance is restored, adding that the administrator is required to operate with the highest levels of transparency and accountability, reporting directly to the National Assembly on all matters that pertain to peace, order, and good government of the state as prescribed by the Constitution. He recalled in the past that the role played by previous assemblies, urging the panel to see their appointment as a call to service, while recalling the state emergencies in Plateau State in 2004 and Ekiti State in 2006, as well as in 2013 when President Goodluck Jonathan declared a state of emergency in Borno, Adamawa and Yobe states after a series of deadly attacks by terrorist and militant groups. Responding, House Leader and Chairman of the committee, Professor Julius Ihovere, pledged the readiness of the panel to deliver on the assignment. Association of Local Governments of Nigeria has accused the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation of frustrating the implementation of local government autonomy. Despite a Supreme Court ruling in favor of direct funding for all 774 local councils. Speaking ahead of the Federal High Court's hearing in Abuja, Algon Secretary General Mohammed Abubakar said the AGF's directive for the Central Bank of Nigeria to open uniform accounts for all local governments undermines the spirit of the court's decision and seeking full inclusion of local governments in the Federation Account Allocation Committee and the right to independently manage their funds. The suit also names the Minister of Finance, Wale Edu, Minister of Budget and National Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, Accountant General of the Federation, the CBN, NNPCL, and commercial banks and defendants. Although the Supreme Court ruled on July 11, 2024, that local government allocations should be paid directly to their accounts, granting them full financial autonomy, but the implementation process has been stalled. The CBN also demanded that each council provide 2 years of audited financial reports before accounts could be opened, a requirement Algon said was not part of the court ruling, adding that after the judgment, it approached the AGF's office requesting that local governments be allowed to open accounts with commercial banks of their choice, but the AGF instead directed the CBN to open accounts on their behalf, and the development has defeated the idea of autonomy. Bureau of Public Procurement says it is strengthening collaboration with anti-corruption agencies to enhance transparency and accountability in Nigeria's procurement processes. Director General of the BPP, Dr. Adebowale Adedoku, disclosed this in Abuja at a National Stakeholders Interactive Workshop with civil society organizations on emerging trends in procurement practices. He said it is poised towards strengthening collaborations and working relationship with anti-corruption agencies such as the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, as well as the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation, Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, and Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, Code of Conduct Bureau, and Nigerian National Intelligence Unit. He said the interagency cooperation was aimed at strengthening the fight against corruption in the public procurement and the public finance management system at large through effective corruption prevention mechanisms. Highlighting the key role of CSOs in reform efforts, Director General said active participation can help bridge gaps in transparency and foster trust between government institutions and citizens, including advocacy and awareness, capacity building, social audits, as well as community mobilization and enhancing public trust. The BPP DG earlier issued a stern warning to procurement offices across ministries, departments and agencies, stating that it would expose and sanction any official involved in inflating contract costs or circumventing due process, adding that the days of procurement officers colluding with contractors or behaving like politicians were over, warning that anyone found culpable would be held accountable. He also said inflated contracts, poor specifications or irregular procurement approvals would no longer be tolerated. Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention has recorded 674 confirmed Lassa fever cases out of 4,025 suspected cases from January to April 6, 2025 in 18 states across 93 local government areas. In a report by the NCDC on Tuesday, said the country has recorded 127 deaths with a case fatality rate of 18.8%, and the states with report and the states with reported death cases are Ondo 26, Bauchi 12, Edo 17, Taraba 31, Ebonyi 11, Kogi 4, and Plateau 5. Others are Gombe 7, Benue State 4, Nasarawa 4, Kaduna 2, Enugu 1, Delta 1, Cross River 1, and Ogun 1. Lassa fever is an acute viral hemorrhagic fever caused by the Lassa virus, and the natural reservoir for the virus is the manate rat, also known as the African rat, although other rodents can also act as carriers. It also said the number of suspected cases decreased compared to that reported for the same period in 2024, and no new healthcare worker was affected in the reporting week 14, adding that the National Lassa Fever Multi-Partner Multi-Sectoral Incident Management System has been activated to coordinate the response activities at all levels. Registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, has commended President Bola Tinubu for the approval of 22 new universities, 33 new polytechnics and monotechnics, and 12 new colleges of education across the country between late 2024 and 2025. According to a statement, the JAMB registrar spoke during an interactive session with principal officers of the newly established, upgraded, and recently approved tertiary institutions in Abuja. Oloyede sternly warned the institutions against conducting illegal admissions, stressing that there will be no room for regularization of such entries, adding that all admissions must go through the Central Admissions Processing System and adhere strictly to due process. The registrar directed over 80 institutions recently approved by the federal government, including universities, polytechnics, monotechnics, and College of Education, to comply fully with the standardized admission procedures. Oloyede, however, clarified that only academic programs approved by the National Universities Commission, National Board for Technical Education, and the National Commission for Colleges of Education would be activated on the JAMB platforms. Also speaking, the Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Applied Sciences, Kachia Professor William Corrix, commended the engagement, adding that the session had clarified challenges facing new institutions, particularly those approved after many candidates had already registered for the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. And now to our business news. In view of the order by the federal government to sustain the Naira for crude policy, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has warned marketers and importers against the losses that may follow any sudden price cuts. This is coming after independent marketer SGR dropped the price of premium motor spirits to 899 per litre, 899 naira per litre across its filling stations in Ogun State. National Vice President of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Ahmed Fashola, advised fellow marketers and importers to play safe while making purchases, adding that the sudden price slashes by Dangote, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, or other major players in the sector will affect losses. The IPMAN Vice President Fashola warned marketers and importers to exercise caution to avoid running into debt when the major players slash their prices without prior notice, stressing that it will be for the good of the masses if Dangote and other refineries lower their prices, the prices of fuel. Fashola suggested that competitors should not oppose the Naira for crude deal based on the thoughts that it is giving an advantage to the Dangote refinery over them, adding that the refinery should be supported considering the huge investment involved. Federal government has stressed the need to end the importation of photovoltaic solar panels into Nigeria, adding that importation has cost Nigeria 200 billion naira losses so far. The Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of the Rural Electrification Agency, Abba Aliyu, who disclosed this at a roundtable held in Victoria Island between the REA and the Lagos State government, said efforts are ongoing to change the narrative and domesticate the manufacturing of renewable equipment in the country, adding that Lagos, being the center of excellence, is going to lead the domestication drive. The REA boss also hinted that the agency is in the process of signing a joint development agreement with Greenworld for a lithium battery assembly plant in Lagos, while the Minister of Science and Technology, Uche Nnaji, said the federal government is willing to support local manufacturing of solar panels while restricting imports. Nnaji highlighted Nigeria's capacity to produce solar panels through the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure. And to our international tidbits, European Union and Britain have pledged to increase aid for Sudan ahead of a conference in London, marking the second anniversary of a conflict that has displaced millions of people. Britain said the conference is aimed at improving the coherence of the international response to the crisis, although Sudan's government criticized the gathering because no representative from either side of the conflict was invited. The war in Sudan erupted in April 2023, sparked by a power struggle between the army and Sudan's Rapid Support Forces, shattering hopes for a transition to civilian rule, and has killed thousands, displaced millions, and devastated regions like Darfur. It has also attracted several foreign powers. The European Union and member states pledged over 522 million euros, $592 million to address the crisis, while Britain announced an extra £120 million, about $158 million in aid. British Foreign Secretary David Lammy said the international community had to persuade the warring parties to protect civilians and let aid in, and he hoped the conference would establish principles for future engagements. And now to our sports news. Nigeria's Flying Eagles will depart Abuja for Cairo this weekend for their final preparation ahead of the 2025 Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations. Aliyu Zubairu's side arrived Abuja from Katsina for the second phase of their preparation last week, and the seven-time champions will now spend 1 week in Cairo before the commencement of the competition. The Flying Eagles will face former champions Tunisia, Kenya and Morocco in Group B. Nigeria's opening fixture in the competition is against Tunisia on Saturday, April 28. The competition will serve as qualifiers for the 2025 FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Chile. And now to our entertainment news. Afrobeat singer David Adeleke, popularly known as Davido, has claimed that his breakthrough hit Dami Duru, which was released in 2012, was the ringtone of the then Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan. Davido said his father Deji Adeleke, who was initially against his decision to do music, later gave him his support after Dami Duru got presidential attention, among other accolades. Davido said, "My dad accepted my decision to do music after he heard my second single, Dami Duru, when the song blew up." US rapper Taymor Mclante, whose stage name is Tay-K, has been convicted of murder for a second time after a jury found him guilty of fatally shooting a San Antonio man, Mark Anthony Saldivar. Tay-K is facing life in prison with the possibility of parole for killing the 23-year-old in 2017 and had already been serving a 55-year jail term over a separate fatal shooting. Prosecutors argued that Tay-K shot Saldivar after the rapper tried to rob him, but his lawyers criticized the police investigation of the shooting, insisting the case relied too much on self-serving statements from witnesses in the car when the shooting happened. The jury found Tay-K not guilty of capital murder, which would have meant a life sentence without the chance of parole. They will now hear evidence in the trial's punishments phase before deciding on a sentence. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Court dismisses Labour Party's suit against Rivers Assembly members. Benue State government declares 3-day holiday for Easter celebration. Tinubu declares national emergency on food security. FG insists on ending 200 billion naira solar imports. EU, Britain increased aid for displaced persons in Sudan. Flying Eagles to depart to Cairo for final preparations. Rapper Tay-K convicted of murder for second time. I am Francis Neka. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter at Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all your bets on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. On 18.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable
You are a human